Here's Hemorrhoid, another machine on my network. Well, not really. This is an old Gateway laptop. Pretty old stuff. I'm sorry I don't have any better lighting here, so this will have to do. It's got a Pentium dual core inside, and originally came with Vista. I've been using this with Windows 7 for some time now. But there was a little problem with the version of Windows 7 that I installed. There's the model number and serial number in that. This laptop has a battery, but it refuses to take a charge. It came to me, I don't even remember if it had a hard drive in it. If I put one in, I think it was IDE in this thing. And I also had some RAM for it at one point or another, so I upgraded the RAM in it. I was not given a proper power adapter for it, but this HP one that I have seems to work perfectly fine. And there it is with its purple glow. Now, this laptop has made cameo appearances countless times in other videos I have, generally when I'm away, because when I'm home I use a desktop. The purple light has gone out, it flashes on and off, tries to charge the battery, it can't, it stops, it turns back on, it goes off. And it has a blue power light. The indicators are at the bottom of the palm rest, which does have two proper things in there. 2.5 gig of RAM, and will allow it to boot up Windows 7. So here it is. Windows 7 Home Premium Service Pack 1 scores a 3.0 on the Windows Experience Index, and it says it has a Pentium dual CPU T2310 at 1.46, 1.47 gigahertz, 2.5 gig RAM. But there's the problem, 32-bit operating system. Now, why is it a 32-bit operating system? It's a 32-bit operating system because I like to retain compatibility with old software. One of the things that I always refer to is a program that I have in here that I'll have to scroll down to. I don't use it too often on here. The American Heritage Dictionary. It's so fast to load up. Usually. There he goes. And that's it. I can look up, you know, conscientious. And there you go. It tells you how to say it and gives you the definition and all that stuff is there. But this is an old Windows 16-bit program. That won't run under a 64-bit version of Windows. So why am I changing this to a 64-bit Windows? Because Wondershare Filmora, which is the program that I use to edit my videos now that the YouTube editor is gone, only has version 7.8.9 on the 32-bit platform. They have not and will not release any newer versions, and I think it's up to like 8.3.5 or something like that on the 64-bit. Now, it works. I mean, that's the general idea, but it doesn't really work. Now, I'm not going to give you a full demo here, but basically, once I put some clips in, and then I go and put them in the timeline down here, in the 64-bit version, right next to all of these icons here, there's like a play button with hash marks and a circle going around it. And that's the pre-render button. See, what happens is on a slow machine like this, if you go ahead and try to edit the videos, the video display in the window there and the audio go well out of sync. And then I can't make the slick edits that I do with it like that, and I have to keep, you know, rolling it back a couple seconds and then hope it syncs up in time. And if I go too far back, it'll go out of sync, and it's just a total pain. So the 32-bit version just doesn't work. Maybe with a lower bitrate video file it would be fine, but this camera only records at a minimum of 720, and this just can't really do it in the 32-bit platform. Now, what's this pre-render stuff? Well, what that is, like I said, is there's an icon that would show up there, and you click on that, and then you get to wait for a long time. What it does is it goes through the entire timeline and it actually pre-renders what you're going to see in the window up here. And then it'll play back very, very smoothly with no interruptions and no out-of-sync issues. The problem is, like I said, I can't do that on a 32-bit platform, so I'm going to have to forego the compatibility with older software, and I'll just have to look it up online, you know, dictionary.com or something like that if I needed that. And there's other programs as well. You know, I dabble in GW Basic here and there, and DOS, of course, but you can't do that on the 64-bit platform. Yeah, there's DOSBox, but that's, you know, that's baloney, because it's not a real, true, you know, thing. It's an emulation thereof, and while it can work like it, it's not the same. So anyways, one last thing I did want to show you. Not that it makes any difference whatsoever, and these scores are completely flawed, and it doesn't make a difference, but here they are. The processor is 4.1, 4.3 for the memory, 3.0 for graphics, 3.1 for gaming graphics, go figure on that, and the hard disk is 5.1. Certainly faster than my Pentium 4 machine, but not by leaps and bounds. And this is pretty much what we get. It is a 64-bit capable machine. It's not taking advantage of that. And finally, for once in my life, I actually can use the 64-bit platform for something. Otherwise, I had absolutely no use for it and saw no difference in speed. So we will come back later on. I'm going to jot these scores down just to see if they change at all under 64-bit. I don't think they will, but we'll find out. And I'm going to basically throw the big switch. But one last thing is the optical drive, which is, I guess it's a DVD burner actually, with label flash technology. It just makes an awesome eject sound. It had that before it ejects. So I just love that sound. So there's no data on here I need. I don't keep anything saved on here. If I do, it's just on the desktop temporarily. We'll make sure it's going to boot from the CD-ROM drive, which it will. And I didn't change anything, but we'll save changes anyways. It will go and reboot. One other interesting thing about this is it always says no TPM or TPM has problem. I don't even remember what that is, but this is the only machine I've ever seen that says that, and it just does for whatever reason, and it works anyway. So now it is trying to read the Tocadiscos, which it has. Windows 7 7600? Erp? Yeah. Remember how I said this has Windows Vista? No. Or came with Vista? No, no, no. We got to do 7. And we're certainly not doing 10. There's going to be another video on that. Now, here's what we came for. 7 Home Premium 64-bit. Click on Next. We'll accept, because you don't have a choice in the matter. Custom, because I'm not upgrading it. And we're just going to go ahead and delete all the partitions. That was another cool sound that the optical drive makes. And we'll click Next. Apparently it has a 120 gig hard drive in it. And now it's going to go ahead and install Windows. Now the light probably isn't going to flash on it, but if it even has one. But it does have a... I think that's the one. I'm not sure. And it's got a wireless light, although it doesn't blink or do anything cool when it, you know, is accessing the network. It just shows if it's on or off. So kind of a moot point. I guess it won't focus that close on it. But I think it looks like a CD. So we're going to go ahead and let that install, and we'll come back once it's installed. Okay. It's done installing. I'll put in my standard credentials for the username. The computer name is going to be Hemorrhoid, which is of course a take on the person who gave this to me. caps lock, and I don't set a password for it because you can easily break that on pretty much, Windows 2000 up, I think, to 7. Recommended settings is fine. We are in the Eastern time zone. Time is just about right. And this is the one that I want. Start automatically. Home network, and let that go ahead. So while the spelling is a little off, it says this is a genuine version of Windows. If you paid for this DVD, then you should ask for a refund, because Windows sucks, as we all know. And it's going to welcome us, and then we can see if all the drivers are in. Also interesting to note is this is the exact same DVD I used for that Dell computer in the series on Use It or Lose It. And that showed a Windows Vista loading screen with the same disk on this because it has a proper either video driver or screen it can understand. It shows the actual Windows 7 logo. All the drivers are in. There's nothing to do. Picked up a mobile Intel 965 Express chipset for video. Sound is in. That's working. It just says high definition audio device, but works. And obviously this isn't rated, so we'll go ahead and rate it. We have some change in the numbers. I'm actually amazed. The processor was 4.1, now it's 4.3. 4.3 for the memory, which is the same. Graphics were 3.0, and gaming graphics 3.1, and now graphics are 3.1, and gaming graphics 3.0. And the hard disk has remained unchanged at 5.1. Interesting. I didn't actually expect that to happen. So pretty much from here on out, I'm going to go ahead and install Service Pack 1 because this wonderful genuine copy of Windows that I didn't pay for the disk for is it doesn't have Service Pack 1, and I'm not going to slipstream it. It's easy enough to just install the Service Pack and do all the Windows updates, get all of my applications loaded, and then I can load up the video editing software. Alright, it's 2 days later now. I've been working on this on and off, and now you can see that we are now running the 64-bit version of the operating system. So we'll close that, and now we're going to load up Filmora, and we'll see if this machine will exhibit the problem where it stutters like that if I don't do a pre-render. Let's give it a shot. It still takes a long time to load. It's not a fast machine. We went through that. But it's available. It'll work, and it'll be fine enough on the road. It's certainly loading very slowly. Eventually it'll put up the splash screen. That'll be nice. We'll click on full feature mode. And now we're going to import media files. That's on the desktop in this cryptically named folder. And I'm going to go ahead and import all of these. So it takes just a few moments for it to import all of the media files. I guess it reads the thumbnails and all that kind of great stuff. And once they're in, and this is why I like the YouTube editor. I didn't have to wait for any of this. And I didn't have to wait for any of what's coming. I guess that's the top. Yeah. And we'll click on plus, and it's going to import all of those to the timeline. There we go. And you see it has to like render all the frames, and then you'll see the audio track come in at the bottom. There it is on the right. And I just wait for all of that to load. And just for fun, let's just see how long this is. 13 minutes plus what I'm recording now. And if we go and play this, first clip looks to be about 30 seconds, so let's see.
Here's Hemorrhoid.
And notice what it says.
Another machine
Click
on my
render
network.
timeline
Well,
to ensure smooth
this is an old
playback.
Gateway laptop. Pretty old stuff. I'm sorry I don't have any better lighting here, so this will have to do. It's got a Pentium.
We're getting close to the break.
Inside, and originally came with Vista. I've been using this with Windows 7 for some time now. But there was a little problem with the version of Windows 7 that I installed. There's the model number.
Well, actually, this machine seems to be a bit faster
this laptop has a battery, but
the other machine that I render on, even though it just took forever to load this and that. It seems that it's actually working pretty well. But generally, I always hit that
I think it was IDE in this thing.
Render
I
button.
had some RAM for
Here's
it
another
at one
break.
point or another, so I upgraded the RAM in it. I was not given a proper power adapter for it, but
this actually seems to be pretty well in sync. I'm actually really impressed.
Fired up. And there it is with its purple glow. Now,
perhaps if I skip way ahead.
And it just does for whatever reason.
That's too much. Let's go back a little bit. If it'll let me. Here.
No. Or came with Vista? No. We got to do 7. And we're certainly not doing 10. There's going to be another video on that. Now, here's what we came for. 7 Home Premium.
The audio is ahead of the video. See, here is where it's actually lagging, so it will still do that. So then I have to hit render timeline. And it says creating preview renders is necessary for smooth playback. Please wait. 19,820 frames so far, and that number is steadily counting up and down and up and down, and it looks like it's probably going to go between 7 and 14 for a while. That's between 7 and 12, between 7 and 10, so we're probably looking at about 8.5 minutes or so that I have to wait for it to render this before I can go and proceed. And this is what I don't like about this. Now, if I had a faster machine, then chances are very good I wouldn't have to go through all this rigmarole, and plus if I did the preview render it would actually go, you know, a lot faster. But I have to wait for all this, and then I go and clip out the little pieces at the end where you hear the camera button and the beginning of the clip if there's a pause in the audio or anything like that. That's what I used to have to do with the old camera because that got real creaky and everything. Plus, like I explained in the first video with this camera, the audio would start a moment after the video. And this camera does it almost immediately. It's almost imperceptible. Only when there's very heavy background noise do you hear a small break in it. And that's what I've been working on eliminating in many of the videos I've recorded since probably May or something like that. So anyway, this will be a decent enough machine. Once this is rendered, it'll be absolutely smooth playback and I can do whatever I need. And that's it. So this is going to be a machine that'll work on the road. I still have Matt's other laptop, that Alienware, that has shown up in a couple of videos, and that's probably the fastest machine that I own. And I have yet to play with it and actually put this program on there. And many of you are going to say, why not just use that? Well, A, I don't like using a laptop if I can use a desktop. And B, if I start with the best machine I have and that craps out, you're used to that speed. So going to something like this, you know, I'll end up pulling what's left of my hair out. Nature is taking it away, you know, as I get older. But, you know, that's why I don't want to use the fastest machine I have. Because then if I do that, then, you know, anything slower is just going to be impossible. A preview of what's to come. before we close this out. There is the new machine in here. It even wakes up the monitor, and in case you've never seen it, here is, obviously I've been remoting in with TeamViewer, here is Windows 7 on a CRT screen, an ancient CRT. This CRT is so old, you'll notice the picture is kind of overscanned a bit. That changes as the tube actually warms up, and it shifts a bit, and that wouldn't be a problem, except this thing is so old. It's got the manual little wheel controls on the bottom there. It's not electronic tuning, so to speak. So I just leave it and it centers itself and takes care of it, because I've had it, you know, set perfectly once warmed up. But I like this old monitor because it's huge, and it still has like the rounded glass, so you get that weird distortion of it, and that. The flicker obviously is because the camera doesn't sync to it. That's just normal. So this went in, I'd like to say without a hitch, but obviously that wasn't the case. That'll be covered in that video when I make it. Here is the machine that was at the bar. I guess it's been missing its cover down there. I just never knew that. I actually went and took the time to transfer the badges over. No, I'm sorry, I did that on the other one, but it had badges like that, the Pentium 4 one and the Windows XP one. The Windows XP that was on that machine was kind of ratty, so I actually heat gunned these labels off of the dead machine, which is sitting down over there with the box on top of it, ready to go out for garbage, and put it on the new machine that nobody will ever see because it's hiding behind the fridge there. I did open this already, just again to give you a quick preview, and you'll notice the RAM up here is gone, and there are two continuity rims, as they're called. This does indeed take RAM bus. Retardedly, I didn't check to see if it had AGP while I had it open. Those sticks were 128s a piece. There was 512 in here, so now it has a total of 768, and that's the most RAM it's probably ever going to have, because finding RAM bus is impossible. This is the AGP graphics card, along with other parts from the old system that I saved, and I didn't see if that will fit and or work in here. Being that I was able to upgrade the RAM on this may possibly be a contender for Windows 7, just because 768 is not a lot of RAM for Windows 7, but we'll see how it runs. I'm going to do it smart. First thing is to put this card in with the XP load that's on here that is working perfectly fine, so there's no need to reload it. And then, provided I get that working, I have a spare hard drive to swap in to it so I don't lose what's currently on there, and I will load Windows 7 onto that drive and see how it runs. If it runs well, then we'll keep it. If not, I'll plug the XP drive back in and call her a day. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.